Hey all, Farmer Dre back at it. I am out here in the Blackberries this afternoon. Now I want to go ahead and explain to you guys what we're doing out here and how we are training the Blackberries on the RCA Trellis system. So Blackberries are a perennial crop, meaning they will live for many years. But the actual canes that come out of the ground, they are biannual, meaning they grow 1 year, they produce a crop, then they die the second year. So the canes that grow the first year and they go in dormancy and then they produce fruit the next year are called the flower canes, and then the prima canes are the canes that are grown in the current year. So as you guys can see here, this big old mess of blackberries, these are all the prima canes, and on the flower canes is what the ones we produce the fruit on. So you know, having that terminology is kind of good to know whenever you talk blackberries, because if not, you know, it gets confusing and then we don't know what we're talking about. So prima canes, flower canes, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys and teach you guys how to train the blackberries on the RCA Trellis. So the crew was out here this afternoon and they went ahead and on more than half of the patch here, they went ahead and cut off the flower canes, the ones that produced the crop this year. And if you guys watch my other videos on this RCA Trellis system, on the rotating cross-arm trellis system, you want to be able to move the canes back and forth. And one way to do that is you got to train the new canes or the prima canes coming out of the ground laterally. Then you go ahead and tip them, and then they're going to go ahead and give out these other side shoots there. And one way to actually get the system to work really well is you got to feed them a lot of nitrogen. And as you guys saw in my previous videos, you guys know that we went ahead and fertilized them with some calcium nitrate, and I fed them about 45 pounds to the acre so far. But then our extension specialist came out and he told me that I need to double that for next year. So he told me that you generally on blackberries, if you're just doing a basic hedgerow system, you want to put on about 45 pounds to the acre. But on the rotating cross-arm trellis system, the RCA, you want to go ahead and put on 90 pounds of actual nitrogen per acre, because your next crop is dependent on the new prima canes coming in, and we want to go ahead and fill out this whole entire system here. So you know, we're a little slow on nitrogen, so we will not fill up the whole entire trellis space this year. I mean, if I feed them some more nitrogen now, which I'm going to, they probably will, but it'll be a little tougher than it is early spring. So as you can see here, we've already trained the new prima canes coming up here, and you're supposed to have 2 or 3 main prima canes. So this is the main prima cane here, and then we went ahead and tipped it back here probably about a month and a half ago, and let's just see how many lateral shoots have come up now. So the plan is you want to come through and cut off all of the floor canes. And as you can see here, the trellis system is just bare now. It's empty. And now we got to come through in the next couple of days and go ahead and start training these new prima canes on here. So the ones that are able to reach this next wire here, we're gonna go ahead and train them this way. And as the season progresses, before frost hit that top wire there. And the goal is to have a cane every fist size or every 6 inches or so. So if we have one here, then we'll put another one right here. And you know, if we go ahead and feed these guys a little more nitrogen, then as you guys can see here, they all will be able to, you know, put up enough shoots up there. And the main reason why you want 2 to 3 main prima canes coming out of the ground is so that you could be able to have enough. You know, on this system, more is better than none. So right here is a perfect example. We got a lot of them. We got, let me see here, 4 main shoots here, and these won't have any problem to reach that top wire there. So you guys can see that one right there, it's already growing nicely. So whenever you are coming through and cutting out the old floor canes or the canes that produced you the crop this season, you want to go ahead and cut it right at the base of the plant. And depending on the variety, let's just see here, they cut that right there. So depending on the variety, there are varieties that, you know, their roots are sort of like rhizomes. Everywhere where the root goes, it's going to go ahead and produce you new prima canes. But this variety right here, Natchez, it's a crown variety, meaning it's only going to give out new shoots at the crown of the plant. So on this RCA trellis system works, this variety works really well because, you know, if the roots get underneath the plastic and the fabric into the middle of the rows, then you're going to start seeing some new prima canes emerging from there. But this crown variety works really well because you're only going to get canes from one spot, and they're a little easier to train. So one thing we've got to keep in mind whenever we are growing on the system is that the new canes coming up is a crop for next year. So if you're hiring someone to come out and do the work for you, you got to be very careful and explain to them what is going on, because if they do a wrong cut somewhere or anywhere on the plant and they cut out some prima canes, then you will not be producing anything in the following year. So, you know, being out here and managing, looking over, you know, watching what they're doing is a very critical job, you know, because like I said, if you don't have a crop for next year, then what's the point of even trying to grow blackberries on the system, and even on any other system when you're trying to grow blackberries. So as you guys can see here, these prima canes are kind of getting out of control. So this is a perfect time. We're going to go ahead and cut out the old ones. As you can see here, I'll kind of show you guys there, and start training these ones really nice, get them growing. So, you know, we can hopefully fill up the whole entire trellis system before frost hits. Generally, here in Southwest Missouri, our first frost date is about the middle of November. You know, some years it's October, and some years it's probably the 1st of December, depending on the year and however it's going. So now is just time to kick them with some nitrogen and get them going. Just try to push out these prima canes to fill up the whole trellis system. So there is a lot of canes that came out, and these are the floor canes right here. These are the ones that produces the crop this past spring, and these are very notorious of dying off after they're done producing the crop. So it's not too bad or too terribly to notice a difference between the prima cane and the floor cane. And if you want to know a big difference between the prima cane and the floor cane, prima canes will usually have 5 leaves on a stem there, and then the floor canes, the ones that are going to produce you a crop, only have 3. So if you're confused and don't know the difference, just look at the leaves. That's going to prove it to you right there. So coming through and cleaning these up, it's not too bad, but got to get down to the bottom of the plant and then clip them up here. And we're going to go ahead and leave those clips up there, these black ones up here, so that we got to go ahead and train the rest of them there. So it's just a job that takes quite a bit of time. It's not too hard, you know, other than being out in the heat and stuff, but overall it's just got to get it done. So this is what we want to see right here, all these new lateral branches coming off that main stem there. So hopefully, I mean, it's barely August 1st, so we have August, September, October, 3 more months to go ahead and fill out this whole system here and get them growing nicely. So overall, blackberries are looking good. We're getting excited for 2020 or 2021. 2020 season's over, and hopefully next year we're gonna go ahead and have a full crop. And one thing we got to watch out for this time of year is deer will come through and do some extensive damage, and Japanese beetles. We've been pretty fortunate this year on our farm, and we haven't seen much. I mean, hardly any. Could be worse, but you know, it all could always be better. So this rotating cross-arm trellis system is actually pretty new to the United States. And the only reason we found out about it is because our local extension guys did a trial out here in Southwest Missouri. And ever since they put that in, about 10 acres of this rotating cross-arm trellis on blackberries have actually gone in. And I know Indiana and part of Illinois are pretty, diverse in this, in the whole blackberry training trellis system. And I think Purdue has a lot of trials and stuff on the system. So it's very new. You probably won't find anybody out here, especially on YouTube, that knows too much about the system. I don't know much about it, but we're just trying it out on our farm. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that about the system, I'll do my best to answer them. And the benefit of the RCA Trellis system is time and labor at harvest is really effective, and it really does work whenever your berries are on one side out of the sun, and it just makes it easier to harvest, easier to spray, to get the insects off of and whatnot. So there's pros and cons to anything. One of the biggest disadvantages of this system, which there's not many, is the time and labor that goes into training them and for producing that crop. But once you get that the blackberries trained and everything, it's pretty easy and it's not too bad. But the production really increases on a square on a linear foot basis. On a typical blackberry system, if you're just doing like the hedgerow system, you'll probably produce 2 to 3 pounds per foot. And studies show that in a full good year, without frost or any insect damage, you could potentially produce up to 5 pounds a linear foot on this RCA trellis system. So your time and labor that you put in is offset by the production of the actual plants. And some varieties are different. You know, we planted all matches because it's the earlier variety, but University of Arkansas just came out with 2 new varieties, Ponca and Caddo, which, you know, next 2 to 3 years we're gonna go ahead and plant on the other side of this driveway here. So we go ahead and continue the blackberries on the farm. But you know, it's, you know, some varieties are more, you know, aggressive, more vigorous than others, and it just depends on the variety. So especially, and your area where you're growing them. Here in South Missouri, the only reason, like I said earlier, that we planted this variety and we knew this variety worked is because our extension people have done the trial, and they tried out like 5 or 6 different varieties, and this one worked the best on the system. So yeah, the RCA Trellis system is very promising. We've been loving it. We've enjoyed it so far. It produces a nice quality berry, and now it's time to train them, get them going, and get ready for 2021. So this is going to be pretty much it for today. Like I mentioned earlier, if you guys have any questions or comments about the system, go ahead and leave them down in the comment section below. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and smash that like button if you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to hit that notification icon so you guys can be notified whenever I do upload a video. I want to say thanks for watching up to this point. You guys have a good day. We'll see you next time.